Hello everyone. Today we are in the episode of Sntir, and we have Allan as a guest, and Amy also.
Yeah, so hello everyone. Today it's gonna be a special version of Hadith Sntir. It's gonna be fully 100% in English because our guest here
Is a dumbass.
no, no, you're not. We have Allan Russel in the house.
Yeah.
So he's gonna take us with him through his musical journey, and we're gonna ask him. We're gonna hit him with a few questions. So we can start with Allan. Can you give us brief, or not brief, just an introduction of how did you start in music? How did your musical journey begin?
Well, my musical journey began in my hometown of Hammersmith in London when a friend of mine, in some sense, an enemy rather than a friend, because he was not a very pleasant young guy. He was pretty stupid. I didn't have a very good opinion of him until he started playing the guitar. And I thought, how can an idiot like this guy suddenly do these amazing things on the guitar? And I was really impressed, and I was hooked. So that is the actual beginning of my journey. There was no looking back. I'd found when I had a job delivering newspapers at 5 o'clock in the morning when I was a kid, and I figured that I could kind of earn enough money to buy a guitar. But after about 6 months, I think I had enough money just to buy the strings, but not the guitar. But this one day, I actually was putting a newspaper through the letterbox in a big tall block of apartments, and there by the dustbin was a guitar. No strings, but it was a guitar. So I asked, is this thrown away? Is this rubbish? And they said, no, take it. So I took it, and I thought, yeah, all I've got to do is with the money that I have, put strings onto it, and that's it.
I'm good to go.
Except when I put the strings onto it, it was more like a bow and arrow. Yeah. I mean, the strings were about
So far
3 inches from the fingerboard. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? So someone said, well, buy a steel and play slide guitar on your lap, which I did. And I stayed with that for about 6 months until there was a fire in my house. And the only thing that got destroyed was the guitar.
Whoa, what a luck.
Yeah, I don't know if it was bad luck or if it was my mother who didn't like the sounds that were coming out of it.
And she burned.
And she set fire to it. But that's the story of the beginnings. I had an instrument that was pretty much impossible to play, and it could only get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great introduction, and Ayman, what's the next question? Like, you go, you take the lead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, when exactly did you come to Morocco, and when you came to Morocco, when was it the start, and how was it for you? How did you start playing music, and did you make any bands, meet any musicians?
Okay. Well, I first came to Morocco in 1969. My first impressions of Morocco were very plain and clear. To sum it up, I would say it was culture shock. I felt that I just travelled back 1,000 years into the Bible, and it fascinated me. Not that to say that I'm a particularly religious person, but I couldn't understand why a country that's only 1,000 miles away from where I lived in London could be so culturally different. And I was hooked.
What year was that?
It was 1969.
69.
1969. I'd landed in Tangier, and I think I would say within half an hour, I was hooked. And I'm still here.
Yeah, that's the biggest proof that you liked it, and yeah, the hook was strong.
Oh, very strong hook.
Yeah,
Called a big fish.
yeah, exactly. So, don't mind me if I go back, like when you were in London and you started playing music in bands and meeting people from the musical circle in your city. I mean, how was that? How was the start gigging, discovering new different genres of music and all that stuff? How it happened in London?
Well, my very first live gig that I did, I was 11, and I was playing a nightclub in northwest London in an Irish bar, and I was playing Irish music, strangely enough, even though my musical influences at that time were like the British pop bands, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and all the other ones that were coming up through this thing. Also, I'd already had a big liking for American bluegrass music, which is like a hillbilly form of classic country music. And I was probably one of about maybe 10 people in the whole of the United Kingdom who'd even heard of this kind of music, you know. But it was in me. I loved it, and I've kept it as in a special place. So I was working with an Irish band, and of course, bluegrass music actually came over from Ireland, from the immigrants who immigrated to the United States. You know, farmers, you know, people that were coming over were simple farming people, you know. They were not, you know, engineers or anything, you know. And they brought their music with them. So when I was given this job to do this nightclub, it was Irish music. So I had the fundamental, although I didn't know the whole catalogue of the Irish scene. I think I probably know the catalogue better than any Irishman now, you know. But yeah, so that was amazing. I had this job that started at around about midnight and finished at 3 a.m. A friend, he repaid a favour because he was offered a job with this band as the guitar player, but he didn't have a guitar, but I did. So I loaned it to him to do the job, and as a repayment, he said, "Oh, come along and, you know, do the gig." And it was a big band with a brass section, you know, trumpets, saxophones, you know, it was a big band, and I was scared out of my life, you know. And I kind of found a place to hide on the stage behind one of the brass players. I was that scared.
Yeah, at 11 years old.
At 11. I was reminded by a friend of mine who's still alive. In fact, the guy who I loaned the guitar to, he's still alive.
Awesome.
And I said to him, "I can't believe it that when I was 14, He said, "Allan, you wasn't 14. He was 11. Yeah. I said, "What?" I said, "No wonder why my mum was so freaked out, you know." But she was good. She let me do it, you know. I mean, yeah, I used to come home around 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, and try and wake up to go to school.
So how long have you played music? Like, how many years?
I've been playing music since, from the age of 10, I guess.
Non-stop?
Non-stop. No. It's, for most of my life, it's been 8 days a week, literally 8 days a week. One on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, one on Friday, one on Saturday, and 2 on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah, also to put people in context, there, like Allan plays the bass. He also plays violin. He's a songwriter, and when he is playing the bass, he sings too. So, did I miss anything?
I'm a guitar
Yeah,
player
guitar player too. Yeah.
I'm also play mandolin.
Yeah. How many videos are there on your Instagram of you playing the guitar now?
There are 286, I think.
206.
286. But that's not the whole story, because I've still got a whole load of stuff that's on Reverb Nation, SoundCloud,
Facebook,
and stuff that's not on
Not published on the internet.
Probably in real terms, I'd say probably about 340, 350 songs.
You know, one thing that I find interesting is that you already like posted stuff on SoundCloud, Facebook, and other social media platforms. But the moment you I still remember the moment you made an Instagram account. And since then, you started, it's just recent.
Yeah.
He started posting, and now he has, you said more than 286 videos. So that's consistency.
Yeah.
He kept on, sharing, and I don't think he's doing it for personal, for views or
For a goal, for example.
No.
You can tell that he's not doing it for that. He's just having fun. And I go your videos or your reels are like chips to me when I'm eating or something. I'm watching. Okay, I didn't watch this one. I need to watch it.
Well, no. If I was looking for views, you know, I would be playing, I don't know, hip hop or something. No, I do it because all these songs are in my head. You know, I mean, over these years, I've just. And there's more, you know. They're just in my head. I've got to get them out of my head. I mean, if you like them, great. If you don't like them, don't listen to them.
Art is subjective.
You know, someone who's doing something that you like.
Yeah, it's subjective. Art is not something that you can say, okay, this is good, this is bad. It depends on your perspective, and it depends on the feeling, the listener. It's the listener's background also plays
influence.
So as he said, if you don't like it, don't listen to it.
Exactly.
He's not shoving it in your face.
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to do that. You know, it's like a broken pencil.
Yeah, true.
You know, pointless.
It's pointless. Do you get feedback from people when you're posting videos and stuff?
Yeah, I do. I do get feedback. Sometimes from the most unlikely people, from the most unlikely places on this planet. Yeah. You know, which is really interesting. I think the positive thing about what I do is. I think most people would agree that the golden age of music was probably through the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah, of course.
Now, the only way that any young kid, no matter where they live in the world, to actually listen to this kind of music is if they see it in a movie track or something, or some publicity for a pair of Adidas trainers or something, you know, and they say, "That's nice. I wonder who did that. Oh, it's back from the 60s or so. You know, so I get a kick out of actually finding these classic songs, what I consider classic songs, and actually putting them out there. You know, here's an opportunity. You know, you're not going to hear that on Dozem Radio,
No, of course.
or else, you know, or Hit Radio, you know, all that stuff. You know, so yeah.
So it's like you're preserving these songs for other generations or future generations.
Yeah, you could say that.
Somehow.
You could say that, you know, because where would you actually get access to it?
Yeah.
I mean, not just in Morocco, you know, anywhere.
Worldwide, yeah.
Anywhere, you know. There's so many cult movies that are still being made today that they just put in the appropriate song, you know, and wow. And you say,
And it
without
changed
that song, that
the whole-
movie would fail.
True. Yeah.
It changed the whole
The atmosphere of the.
Yeah.
But that's the quality of that era of music. You can't deny it.
Yeah.
It's because it's
Yeah.
true.
It is that good.
It is that
Yeah,
good.
good,
yeah.
You know. And I was just lucky to be born in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, you know, even like besides the reels and the posting you do, I think, like, for example, based on my own experience interaction with you, just us having conversations about music and stuff, like I always find myself learning something new every conversation we have about the golden age of music and the songs that were made at that era. This itself, you, like, for example, having a conversation with someone like me who just started in the music industry, this is something that's gonna influence the way I see music, like as someone, as I said, who has just started. It's gonna influence how I see music, how I produce music, and just my taste and a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I mean, you could write a book on
About
this one.
it, yeah.
You know,
Books, not only one.
yeah, encyclopedias, you know, volumes. Yeah, when you've lived it,
That's
you know,
the thing.
you make loads of mistakes.
Yeah.
But sometimes the mistakes, you know, as long as you learn from them, then it's legit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes. Definitely.
And I have made my fair share of them in all aspects of it, you know. But I think the most important is the most important thing is you manage to filter out the bull shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a podcast.
Yeah, of course. And I just want you to tell us more about people you've met through your journey. Like, I'm talking about great artists and how this encounters influenced your journey, your musical taste, and your also what you've learned from some of them. If you can put it that way.
Wow. Oof. Oh God, there's been quite a number of them. I don't know where to start. Well, the most influential would have been actually playing with the Beatles. I mean, I still can't believe that I did that. And this wasn't, you know, like a live gig. This was in a dressing room. Purely by accident, which I walked into, and I've got Lennon and McCartney saying, "Hi, sit down. Would you like lunch?" And I said, "No." So bear in mind that I was 14, and I said, as a cocky kid, I play guitar as well. Suddenly, I had both of their attention. I must say that McCartney is an absolute gentleman, or it was at that time. Lennon was very nonchalant. You know, he was reading a paper and sort of like just peeping up over the top of his paper. You know, fucking boring. And he said, "Oh," Paul said, "John, pass over your guitar." And gave me he had this old black Rickenbacker.
Yeah.
And I tried to play it, and it was alien. different to any guitar I've ever played, and I'm kind of like messing everything up, and I'm feeling the fall. But McCartney is like this, and I've got all of his attention. And I must say that he said, "Play something." So I played him a bluegrass song, of all things. That's what came into my head. And he was coming closer and closer. And suddenly Lennon gets up, changes places, and comes nearer. And he's got his...
Got triggered, yeah.
And he said, McCartney said to me, I'll never forget it. He said to me, "You know, he said, my mother liked this kind of music. She used to listen to it on the radio. She was Irish and she loved that country and western music."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, Paul, it's not actually country and western music, it's bluegrass."
Yes. Yeah.
He said, "Oh, okay." So I played him this introduction to a song called the Foggy Mountain Breakdown, which is a bluegrass song.
Yeah.
Played on a banjo with a guitar doing backup to the banjo, giving the rhythmic. So I played the rhythmic part on the guitar, and that was it. But I couldn't help seeing how much attention I had. Lennon finally kind of went back to his newspaper, but McCartney, different story altogether. And I've only actually really given this some serious thought in the last 3 or 4 years, when with reference to one of their biggest hits called "I've Just Seen a Face," which just happens to be the same intro that I played with Paul McCartney.
So he got inspired from what you played.
There's no doubt, absolutely no doubt whatsoever. I've even checked the dates. I know within 2 weeks when this happened, and I know the exact date that song was released. Mm-hmm. It all ties in. There are websites on the internet that concentrate purely on the songs of Lennon and McCartney and how they, what were they influenced by.
Yeah.
And it comes down with this one particular song. It's called "I've Just Seen a Face." Listen to it. And all the critics, these guys are experts. They're saying, "Man, this is bluegrass.
Yes,
This is bluegrass." And I'm saying, I know. I can confirm it. But I tried to put it out there to one guy, an American guy, that, basically he didn't even respond to me. He must have thought I was crazy or something. It's a little bit like seeing a UFO. Yeah, sure. So anyway, that's the absolute honest truth. And if McCartney was to be aware that I was that little kid, I often wonder if he would actually confirm it.
Yeah.
Or if he may be a little embarrassed that he was schooled by a 14-year-old kid.
Well, or maybe, it could be.
Interested.
It could be, yeah. That's awesome. What's next? Ayman or...
You don't have any questions?
I should.
Mr.
I do
Das.
have a question.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about instrument. Like, do you have a story about buying, selling instrument? Like, do you have a vintage, or, as you said before we start the podcast, you know how you are professional to measuring the instrument. Is this vintage or not?
Yeah. I only own at this time one vintage instrument because before coming to Morocco, everything that I had, I pretty much sold. I brought 2 vintage instruments to Morocco. One of them I sold a year ago. So the only vintage instrument that I have now is a 1962 Fender Jazz bass,
Nice.
which will go to my grave. You know, it's I can't part with that.
Yeah.
It's part of me. It's an absolute rarest of rarest colours. Collectible, you can bet your life. Price, I wouldn't take less than £200,000 for it.
Nice.
And I would probably get it.
Yeah. Of course.
But it's not about that. It's nice to think that you can kind of cash in this money at some time. But I mean, if I'm playing somebody else's bass on a stage, it's like
Didn't you give it the same,
it's a bond that's been broken. It's a weird musician thing. Vintage instruments. A couple of notes that are still out there and still can be seen is Mark Knopfler's 1959 Gibson Les
I
Paul.
was trying to get back to that specific thing.
Yeah.
And also maybe before how the story with collecting vintage guitars started, and that would make it more.
I think, I don't know, I think it could have started with the simple fact that I've only ever owned one new guitar, and I couldn't play it. I couldn't run with it. I couldn't relate with it. I don't know if it was I afraid that I might scratch it? I don't know. But I found when I played an old guitar, it's like there's something in that guitar already, and that fascinated me. I feel that I'm picking up vibes, not to mention that they actually sound better, and not to mention that they were normally at least a kilo lighter around your neck and on your shoulder. Because the woods have dried out, all the water content is gone. That's enhanced the sound, even on a solid body guitar. Common on a guitar session, an acoustic guitar, but you don't think about a solid body guitar.
Yeah.
They dry out. They're made of wood, but it's not all that. It's the wood. What wood that they've used to actually. Then of course the craftsmanship. The way the pickups are wound. It's lots of different things that goes to make a particular guitar. And the two famous makers, of course, in the electric guitars being Mr. Leo Fender and the Gibson guitar. They're the ones that jump out. Even though those companies are still existing as of today.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't find the wood.
Of course.
That wood isn't out there anymore. We've kind of like pulled down the forests, to mine coal. We've lost them. Amazon, Brazilian rosewood that's used in Martin guitars. The most exquisite, woods.
It resonate differently.
They are. You now have to have a license to actually own a guitar that's made out of that material. Because it's like elephant's ivory. It's big trouble if you're caught, importing or exporting guitars made from those woods, unless the trees were felled before 1969, I believe.
Okay.
Then you will not be in any trouble with government or police.
Is that serious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, so, you know, like those trees are not going to grow, you know, to be cut for at least another 150, 200 years. You know, of course. It's as, you know, simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
So
back to Mark Knopfler.
Mark Knopfler, well, I sold him that guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So you used to sell guitars?
Yeah, I collected them and sold them.
So you're talking about the Gibson one?
I'm talking about the Gibson 1959 Les Paul. I sold him that guitar. I spent a really pleasant day with him at his house. What else can I say? He's a really nice guy, Mark Knopfler. Great man. Great guitar player. Great. And with a capital G.
Yeah.
You know, I saw his guitar collection. I saw his car collection. Wow, incredible. And finally, just before leaving, he asked me, do I know anybody who can paint his red vintage pre-CBS Stratocaster? And I said, yeah, me. So when you see any of the live gigs of Mark Knopfler, especially doing Sultans of Swing with that red Strat, I painted it.
Yeah, that's the guy behind the color. Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great stories to be told.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to take us back to a question we asked earlier. Like, did you make any bands here, or like just played any gigs with people, especially Moroccan people?
Yeah, I made 2 bands here. One in, I think around about 2008, 2009, which basically, I tell you who was responsible for that was Yunus Migri.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was a neighbor. Well, he still is a neighbor in actual fact. He passed by the house and said, "Hey, Allan, do you want to come down to the beach, Sidi Abed Beach? There's a band playing on the beach." I said, "Yeah, I'd love to see a band, especially when it's only a 3-minute walk."
Yeah.
So I went there, and there's these bunch of guys, you know, bashing out blues. I liked the blues for about half an hour.
No more than that.
Yeah, because, you know, once my family woke up this morning, it's all over, you know. Well, I woke up this morning. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody wakes up every morning. You know, so after a few yawns, you know. But here was a band, you know, and Eunice introduced me to the guys in the band, which consisted of 2 American guys from the American Embassy, 2 French guys who were living here kind of permanently in Morocco, and a Moroccan guy who was playing bass. Eunice introduced me and said, "This is Allan. He's living here now, and he's a bass player." And oh, really? Because they had lost their bass player, and they just brought this Moroccan guy in just to do the gig. Basically, they needed a bass player, so it all kind of fitted. They said, "Would I like to join the band?" I said, "Yeah, but if you think I'm going to play blues for more than 30 minutes, you know, you're mistaken. You know, I love the blues. The blues has a place in every kind of music, sure, but it's not everything. You know, there are other things in life, you know, besides blues. You know, so they reluctantly agreed to take me on, and we found like some kind of a compromise. Because there's no way that the guitar player was going to stop playing the blues.
Of course.
So I said, well, you know, why don't we do some blues rock? You know, I mean, I've got some rock music influences behind me. You know, And I would feel more comfortable, doing that. In fact, I will play any rock song that doesn't start with "Well, I woke up this morning," So, yeah. So,
What was the name of the band?
Break for the Border.
Break for the
Break.
Border.
Break for the Border. We've done some really good gigs, actually.
Yeah, I actually saw a video of you playing with them. I think it's the song Gloria.
Glory, yeah, Van
That's-
Morrison,
yeah.
and them.
It's a
Yeah.
good video. It was really well recorded.
It was
And
in
the
which year?
That it was recorded, that we recorded it.
I mean,
This would have been about 2010,
Gloria video.
the Gloria
Yeah.
video, yeah. that we
It's a
did.
good video. It was well recorded, and the performance was top notch. Like
awesome.
every, you can see that every instrument. Did you rehearse before or?
No, it was just a live gig.
Okay, nice.
Live gig.
It was recorded here or in Europe?
No, in
it was
Morocco.
recorded here in,
Yeah, okay.
in Morocco. Although it wasn't just someone with an iPhone.
Yeah.
It was actually Ahmed Boulan, the filmmaker,
Ah, okay.
who owed us a favor.
Awesome.
Because we had done the soundtrack for his new movie, which he never used. Why? I don't know.
A lot of waste.
But it was a repayment. It was a repayment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but if the truth be told, I mean, it was good quality camera.
Yeah.
Although basically he just switched the camera on and pulled away. That was his contribution. But if you're listening, Ahmed Boulan, you're a good guy. You're a good guy, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, it was a good video.
Yeah, it was great. We played Casablanca 2 nights a week for about 2 years, which was interesting. And but the crazy thing was about this was that the house band from the nightclub just around the corner, the name of it escapes me.
Is it in Mir Sultan? Is it in Mir Sultan, Casablanca?
Yeah, it's
I forget
I
the
can't
name
remember the name of the
also.
venue. We played the Kalesh.
Stock, I guess, or
Beer.
B Stock.
B-Rock?
Stock B.
B-Rock, is it?
B Rock. B Rock.
It was. I've played B-Rock,
Yeah.
but no, it wasn't B-Rock. It was another venue whose name just escapes me.
Whatever.
But they had regular bands from Canada playing there,
Yeah.
and but their shows started around about midnight,
Yeah.
and the whole band was in the Kalesh watching us, before doing their gig, and then we would go from the Kalesh,
For their gig.
yeah, which was just like 3 minutes walk, just around the corner, that was an interesting story. Yeah.
So I guess I already know the answer to this, but it's rhetorical to me. But I think people would want to know. What's the name of the second band you made?
Oh, the second band. The second band. That's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
That's
This also answers the question of how was your experience interacting with the Moroccan musician, because this was one of your experiences, many experiences interacting with Moroccan musicians.
yeah.
And this was actually creating a band with Moroccan musicians.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
all Moroccan musicians.
That's right.
So talk to us about that experience.
Okay. Well, the name of the band was the Sultans of Sla.
Sla. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that name. I wanted people. All my work is here, and I wanted people to kind of relate to something. I didn't want to be, an Occidental band. I wanted to shed as much of that side of it as I possibly could,
Yeah.
given who the band will be playing to. And I thought, well, where would be the most unlikely place. Sally.
Sorry.
Sla.
Because I think it's also because the first city you've been in when you came to Morocco.
Isla,
the first time
After
was-
Tangier, I guess it's
Yeah,
he came to Sla, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I do have a very close connection with Heimulay Ismail. It's I have a love for the place. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, it's shabby. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. It's got a vibe, and I
Yeah,
love that vibe,
that's the
and
point.
good people. You know, there's always good people and there's bad people. But even
Yeah.
the bad people are good people. We just need to know why they're bad, and it's pretty obvious why most of these people are
You know,
bad.
even that there is risk and it's dangerous. Sorry for interrupting. Like even that it's dangerous and risky. There, you sense that there is a system, some sort of system that everyone is following. You just need to notice how they behave and analyze how they behave with each other, and you need to just adapt yourself to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for someone who's coming from a whole different culture, I can only imagine the cultural shock you had at the beginning, especially in
beginning,
a
absolutely.
city like Sla. I can only imagine the cultural shock, and you see in.
But you have to know that. Sorry for
It's okay, it's
interrupting. You don't have to forget that Saleh in 1969. It's not.
I know, I know.
Of course.
Big difference.
He still remembers the beach, the people like they
Oh, the Sally Beach.
beach, yeah, the
Yeah,
Saleh beach,
sure.
the Butte of Bahar, they call that music.
Yeah.
Those cabins
Bridge,
or
yeah. It's like in Imswan.
yeah, and they also used to sell fish in the restaurants there. And,
That's right. You know, with the flocker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but they removed all of that now.
All gone. All
Yeah.
gone. I mean, it's all nice, bright and shiny now.
projects.
So it was a good era in Sali.
It was.
In the 90s,
it was.
yeah.
You know, I guess it's arguable. You know, it's
Yeah.
arguable. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's not smelly anymore." You know, it's all beautiful with beautiful lights and promenades.
It depends.
If you like that kind of thing, yeah. But you know, something always gets lost
Yeah.
There was also
along the way.
yeah, there was also a place there where you can rent like a spot where you can put your stuff and lock it,
Yeah,
and you
they-
can
like-
come back to it later.
Yeah, it's like little wooden cabin.
Yeah, the
Ah,
cabins.
little
That's what I
wooden
wanted to
cabins.
say earlier.
They
Yeah,
were wonderful.
they removed them. Imagine that they were like there.
They were
You rent
wonderful.
cabins, you leave your stuff, because people suffer like when, especially youngsters, when they come to the beach and they just want to have a swim.
Yeah.
There's no one to watch their
Yeah.
clothes, so they have a cabin. They put their clothes in it. So Sultans of Sla.
Sultans of Sla. So the Sultans of Sla, I thought very hard about actually working with Moroccan. Doesn't have to be men, but it was men. Could have equally have been women if they had the right
skills.
Yeah.
skills I was
skills.
looking for. But from my experience, I wanted to choose very carefully who I use. So I had one guy working with me. I mean, it became pretty clear after 3 weeks that he was more interested in women than playing music. So I had to stop it. But the good thing at that time was he actually introduced me to a guitar player who I was astonished. This guy is so good. He is such a good guitar player. He was perfect. He was perfect. I was smitten. I was absolutely aghast, and I thought, great. And we played with the idea of actually using another guitar player when Rida suggested a keyboard player. and I've never.
Reda is the guitar player.
Reader is the guitar player, and I was a little bit reluctant. I'd always found problems with keyboard players. It's one of those situations where when you've got a keyboard playing with you, the bass player
We
goes
don't
over
need
to
a
the
bass.
keyboard player and says,
Yeah.
like,
Stop playing my part.
stop playing the left hand.
That's my job. Playing my part. Yeah.
But I said, well, yeah, I would consider a keyboard player, but there's only one keyboard player that's going to be perfect for this band, and that's this guy called Mehdi.
Mehdi
yeah.
Wonder.
And he said,
Yeah.
"Oh, Mehdi, we know Mehdi. I know Mehdi." So I said, "This guy has got what I need."
Yeah.
He's
And
good.
Mehdi
he's
came
good.
along, and sure enough, like he just fitted like a glove. It's like a hand going into a glove. Dead right. Great musician, Mehdi.
Yeah.
Great musician. Very talented guy. Very funny guy as well.
Yeah.
And it was through that, I think it was through Mehdi who invited some guys from other bands to come to the house and watch the band doing
Perform and
repetition.
play, yeah.
That we came across
Plot
yours
twist.
truly,
Plot
Eamon.
twist.
Eamon. And,
drummer.
because we didn't have a drummer. And I was a little bit reluctant to have a drummer. Some
Yeah, I
people
still
say,
remember, yeah.
some people will call this sacrilege, but everything has a reason. I was using electronic drums, which I programmed myself through MIDI
Nice.
to actually do all the parts that I wanted. And when people ask me, well, why? Why did they get a live drummer? I said, well, I have lots of reasons. One, they're never late. They don't drink. You don't have to pay them. I was finding more positives, and they only play with one band, and that's you. So
Anti-phrase. Hein?
but in my heart, I know there's nothing like a live drummer. Sure, And after lots of badgering from Rida, he convinced me, and Eamon actually being a drummer and actually being here and listening to what's going on and not saying that's a pile of crap, it just naturally happened. And I said to Eamon, well, just join the band.
Yeah, here
And it
in
was as simple as that.
in this setting, it happened here. Like we were sitting.
Where
in,
we're sitting
Nice.
right now. Yeah. And that was it. As far as I was concerned, the band was complete. It was just work. I wasn't prepared. Well, even it was COVID. It was the lockdown COVID
Yeah.
time, and even if you wanted to work, you couldn't.
You couldn't.
But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it because I said to the guys, I'm not going out onto a stage until I know that we are absolutely
Ready.
Yeah.
because there's no excuses as far as I'm concerned. But unfortunately, all this time in COVID passed. But as soon as the lockdown finished, I lost my guitar player, who seemed to think that it was cool to leave the band for 6 months and come back. I didn't think that was very cool at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I was really, really upset that this happened. And given that the time was spent on actually putting this band together, and I was very, very happy with the results that we were getting, and we hadn't even started, we hadn't even
pre-work,
started, and I thought about not the things that we'd done, but the things that we hadn't done, and that really upset me, and I was thinking, look, I'm fucking 72 years old. Can I deal with going through? Am I even going to be around?
Yeah, you can, man. You can, of course.
And I
It's
thought,
like-
no, that's it.
Yeah.
Music is a lifetime thing, So
It is, but my expectation and demands are are the old way, the way that I've been brought up, the way that old musicians have treated me, the way that, that when you do something, it's your heart and your soul,
Yeah.
I was just really, it broke me. It broke me.
But I think, for example, here in Morocco, it's hard to have an engagement as a band because there is a lot of. It's hard to have a band here. I think in a place like Morocco.
Yeah, the circumstances are different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The circumstances are different. And these are things that you can't change because it's the way that it is, and it's likely to stay this way for some considerable time.
Yeah.
But because of the way that it is, it's blocking the whole future of music in Morocco.
Morocco, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's blocking because
Commitment.
attitudes.
Yeah.
I mean, people are living for today, not for tomorrow. You can't make money playing music. People who
Absolutely
hire
not.
you think they're doing you a favor. Come and play at my barbecue garden party, and you can eat lots of chicken.
I don't want to eat. I want to get paid. Man.
This is a service.
I found that very hard to deal with here, but I just don't deal with it. If someone asks me how much do you charge, I think of a crazy number and then add 2 more zeros to it.
Yeah.
And that's it. You want this kind of music.
You gotta pay for it.
You got to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And the quicker you realize it, the better. I'm not saying that all Moroccans take that attitude. They don't. There are some very, very good people out there.
Of course.
Very
But
good,
the big majority-
educated people, and they do understand. But
the big majority don't.
Unfortunately, no. But it blocks in so many ways. It blocks, if you want to write songs, you've got no protection for your songs. No one gives a damn.
Because there is no industry here. There is no labels here, for example.
There's no,
It's not
you know,
structured. It's not like
Chaos.
you don't have a
remember-
blueprint to follow.
Yeah.
As I told you before we started, there's no blueprint to follow in order to start your career properly and to get somewhere and to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And if you haven't got that infrastructure in place, then things are not going to change. Things are not, they're going to be the way that they are. Attitudes are going to be the same. And, it's... there are things that I want to change in Morocco, and there are things that I don't want to see change. But unfortunately, it seems to be
Yes, it's
Yeah.
twisted.
twisted.
Yeah.
The things I don't want to be changed are being changed, and the things that, like music, is it because they think that music is not important?
Maybe.
Well,
They didn't got.
they're making a big mistake,
Yeah, of course, man.
a huge mistake.
Maybe one day they will.
Musicians, even well-known musicians here, are not really treated with dignity. They're not given the dignity that they deserve. These things have got to change. They have to change to have any hope in the music industry of Morocco. It's not about talent. It's not about ability. It's
No.
here. It's all they've got it.
Yeah, and so
It's all of these barriers.
yeah, and if we want to point it out, and for your experience here in Morocco, as you noticed all these things that didn't work out and don't contribute in the development of the music industry here in Morocco, what are the suggestions, for example, that you see based on your experience in the field for all these several years, all your lifetime? What things that you think should change, or what things that musicians could do in order to change the situation and to make it better for musicians?
I think there's very little that the actual musicians can do because they're subjected to the system.
Yeah.
You know, until the system changes, then things will not change. You know, there has to be some serious positive thinking from politicians. That's where it should start. Value. I'm not talking about rock music or hip hop music, just music. Value it. Value the people who have the talent to actually do this. Give them not just musicians, artists, painters, sculptors, all of the arts.
Aspects of art.
These things have very, very little importance, I find, in Morocco. And it's only a select few that actually pay any respect to the artists who create these things, whether it be music or otherwise.
Yeah, there's also this thing that this change shouldn't just, this is just my opinion, of course.
Sure.
The change shouldn't just come from one party, which is the government or the system or the political parties or whatever. The list. It should also come from musicians themselves. Even that they're subjected to the system and everything. I see a lot of musicians, they don't give value to themselves first.
I think that's very true.
Yeah. So you see that, there are a lot of factors that a person, there are a lot of factors why a person could not give value to himself. For example, the lack of education, being just illiterate, and these kind of things make a lot of musicians not being aware that they are subjected to a system, and also makes them not aware,
Being exploited.
not maybe sometimes exploited, but they
are exploited.
Yeah, they just don't give value to what they are doing. They get paid wherever they
That's
don't.
what I'm saying, because when you're broke, for example, you don't have food on the table, and you go somewhere to gig, and they tell you, for example, we can pay you like 100 dirhams, and you will be playing like
That's
3
exploitation.
times a week or 4 times a week. Some musicians, unfortunately, here in Morocco, they see that as an opportunity, because for him, if he's playing 4 times a week and getting paid less than what they deserve, is much better than if they are playing 1 time a week and they can lose their position at any moment.
And
That's what I'm saying.
one important thing you mentioned
I
is
agree.
that that person, for example, in this situation, being broke, this itself makes him subjected to accepting whatever they provide, whatever they offer. So he's forced to take it. He's not going to negotiate or he's not going to negotiate. He needs money to buy the basic needs of life.
That's what the trickiest part, because when you say that, I mean, if all the musicians, and because you know that everyone knows everyone here in we are few. There's not many musicians. So basically, if we all agreed on rules, should be like we have this list of rules in order to play in places. For example, let's talk about the minimum payment you have to get in order to go to gig in a restaurant or a bar or a pub or whatever. Like, if we do that and everyone agreed on this and no one broke the rules, then we can arrive somewhere.
I get your point.
And that's just one element.
But these rules can be always shake.
I don't know if you know
because
about what
They
happened.
can be easily broken.
Yeah.
Because there's always somebody that will come and say, we will do it for 50 dirhams cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah. There
Yeah,
will
that's what
always
happened.
be.
And that's what
that's-
happened after COVID. Just to mention that, before
Yeah.
COVID, we were playing like between
Prices
800
got low.
and 1,000 for a gig. After COVID, no, during COVID, when they started opening some places,
Yeah.
they suggested to pay the half of that to
Price, yeah.
musicians.
That is
We said,
absolutely
no, we are not
crazy.
going.
Yeah.
We said no, we are not going to play, and that's it. And probably everyone agreed on that.
Yeah.
And then there is exceptions.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of exploitation.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
exploitation.
I would say, as a musician, you want us to come back into the clubs, you will pay us double, not half.
Yeah.
Not how.
You know,
That's
I'm putting my
the
life
point.
at risk
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
COVID that could still be out there.
Yeah.
You want me to
True.
do it? Take that risk for half.
Because
Are
we
you
don't have
crazy?
any
But this
excellence.
is just one thing to put straight. This is not just a Moroccan problem.
Yeah.
Exploitation
Yeah, it's not-
of
Yeah,
musicians.
it's not just a
This is a
Moroccan problem.
world problem. You know, believe me.
Humans being humans,
Yeah. Yeah.
they exploit each other.
Of course.
But you know, Alan, one thing I wanted to mention earlier is that change can happen, not on a bigger scale, but there are some things that are helping in this change which we want, which is developing and uprising the music industry. One of these things that's helping this change is that, for example, you, Alan, you're someone with years of experience and years of gigs and concerts and performances and playing instruments, singing, and the list goes. For example, when you gave me and Mehdi and to be honest, I'm gonna say specifically me because the others were already they already have their share in experience.
Yeah.
Mehdi has been playing music since he was 11 too, but you giving me that opportunity.
Yeah.
It's something for me. I will forever be thankful for and forever be grateful for, because it helped me construct a better image of the music industry, not from just a Moroccan perspective, but from your point of view. From your point of view, someone who's from another culture who is experiencing the Moroccan culture right now.
Yeah.
So that helped. This is something that's gonna cause change if people like you transmit what the experience they had to the next generation. So that's why I said I will be forever thankful for that, because that's something you are either lucky enough to get it, or you're not.
Well, you know, I mean, and that's the way that it should be. That's
Yeah,
the way
of
that
course.
it should
Yeah.
be. You know, you're not giving away secrets. You know, you're not. Oh God, you know, I'm not going to show him this because use it. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's for me, it's normal because I had it done to me. It was the old boys from the 50s who were
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
traditional jazz players who were working the ships, you know, going between Liverpool
Cruisers,
and New
yeah.
York,
Yeah.
you know, who had all this experience. And I'm, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
I'm taking it all in, you know, even simple little things.
Yeah.
You know, how to tie a guitar lead
Yeah.
without it getting all tangled up in a box, you know, and you've got 10 minutes and you're trying to undo all the tangles, you know. You know, I had an old boy, you know, a good old boy, you know, he said, "Well, I've been watching you 10 minutes trying to untangle your, you know, cord." He said, "Let me show you how to avoid all of these problems."
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, I was quite young, you know, who's this?
What are they trying to do? Huh?
Yeah.
And when he demonstrated to me, you know, how simple it was, I was shocked.
Yeah, I said, I have done by one.
And it stays with me to this day. I never ever have a tangled guitar lead or microphone cable or any cables. I just do that, stop, and it flows. Like a carpet, it rolls out perfectly smooth. These are things that are given to you.
Good job.
All of these things, they may be little things,
Those little things that make a big difference.
Yeah.
It's the difference between an amateur and a professional.
Channel, yeah.
Yes.
Of course. Well, it goes towards your professionalism.
All right. So I think maybe
We're gonna conclude.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question to conclude this podcast.
Okay.
And thank you for allowing Mr. Drax and Mr. Usama to be here at your place, the House of Cats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
It's an honor.
you
It's
for
an honor
coming.
to be
Yeah,
here.
Ayub has been asking me to do this podcast since like forever.
I'm not a very good socializer, so I don't really go out there very much. I kind of stay within my confines and do my music and my garden. They're my loves in life. So it's been interesting for me to actually put my voice out there.
You have a lot to say and a lot of experience, and we are so glad to have you as a guest.
And there's
in the
more. I don't
podcast.
think that one podcast is enough.
Maybe we can,
Especially that I've spent a lot of time with Allan during the period of us being in the same band.
Yeah.
And I was always, whenever he was telling us stories and telling us about his experience, I always sat down and I was like, this needs to be documented.
Yeah.
This needs to be recorded.
yes, why
If
not?
one person or two listened to the podcast and got something of it, that's a win.
Yes,
of course.
That's a win.
Yeah, I've had, I can't count the number of people that said to me, "You should write a book."
Yeah.
And my normal response is, "How many?"
Do you have anything like written properly or with more details about your life? Or not talking about
There's
a
an
book.
article that
just
Yassine wrote, right? About you. No?
There is more detailed stuff.
I don't think so.
I would like to have it.
I'm not
and,
sure.
Yeah.
And why not? We can find like something to work on.
But a lot of these things come through just conversation. Something will come up, and I'll say, "Oh my God, that reminds me of the time." And so a lot of it is a little bit spontaneous. There's so much.
We will figure it out.
Maybe another podcast.
Not podcast. Maybe we can work on something much detailed and much bigger.
There was the bad times and there was the good times.
times, yeah.
You forget the bad times. The good times.
So
Hilarious.
this brings us to the last question, which is looking back at your musical career and all of the things. By the way, just to put people in context, you were besides music, you were in the education field.
Yes.
That's between brackets. He was in the education
I
field.
was the assistant director for education for the best part of West London, basically. Nothing wrong with the different story today, of course, but nothing wrong with the things that are actually being provided by what was being provided by the local council. Youth clubs. I mean, just that alone is priceless. But facilities for children who are under 5, creches. Swimming pools. Sports, football, the whole of the leisure industry. I had it. Great stuff. The biggest problem was the people that you have to work with.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, I'm not a shirt and tie person. Never was, never will be. And I can't deal with government BS is bad enough. Local government BS is even worse.
Worse, yeah.
Where you've got people who've been given a little bit of power, and they will kind of throw that power around like they are the prime minister or the president. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, oh God, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Very well paid, great, made a lot of money. Yeah, enjoyed, sincerely believed in the work that I was doing, but people,
Of course.
who are not in it for the same reasons. They're only in it for the one reason, and that's the paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, it's horrible. And it's all the politics that goes on
Yeah.
within, you know, these things.
Crash.
Terrible. Does that answer that question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
of
was
course.
that wasn't the question actually. There was just I just informed the people between brackets that you were in the education field.
Yeah.
But my question, which wouldn't it's not a question that you're gonna answer like. It's just a brief answer. You know? Looking back at your career, is there anything you wanted to do, or can you just give us a brief reflection on your
No, you mean is there anything that you would have done differently through your path?
no
that?
just differently, just brief reflection. How are you satisfied with how it went? And
I've got no regrets because I went from being a musician. Okay, when did I stop being a musician? I've got to start from there. I stopped being a musician on a professional level when I was hit by a huge tax bill.
Really?
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay.
And I had to get a lawyer to sort out all of these problems, frightened the life out of me. I mean, this was big.
And this was in what year?
This would have been in 75, 76.
Okay.
1975, 1976.
before I was born.
So, like, I'd suddenly come out of the music business into the world of having to work. You know,
Yeah.
and I thought, what am I going to do? You know, and I thought something that would interest me. I thought kids, facilities for kids. Maybe through that way, I can somehow work in music. You know, but I was pretty loose. It didn't have to be music; it could be sports. You know,
Yeah.
And I took a job that was really, really low paid, but it was wonderful.
You
So
enjoyed it.
I was out in the field providing the facilities, and working face to face with the kids.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Loved it. The
Yeah,
money
cool.
was terrible,
Yeah.
but
You
I
loved
loved
it. Yeah.
Then they decided they wanted. They thought I was too good for this, and they wanted to put me in a cravat and a shirt and to be part of the management team. That's when the money went through the roof,
Oh.
but the pleasure sank to my feet. It was awful. It was awful. And again, as I said earlier, it's the people that you're working with. Once you get involved in politics, then it's about politics. It's not about the youth that you're trying to serve.
Yeah.
That comes, very low down the scale.
Yeah.
So there's nothing I would change in regard to that. It was an experience. Part of it I loved, part of it I detested.
And it is what it is, as you always say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Allan,
thank you so
for,
much, Allan.
your
Thank
time.
you, Eamon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Great.
It was a pleasure talking to you, exchanging, learning from you.
This is going to be a special episode of
Of course.
It's going to be a long one.
Yeah, I
wonder
don't
if
know how
anybody's actually got
long
the
how
time to
long
listen to all this.
But
that's
it's
what
managed,
podcasts
Yeah.
are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys,
نتلاقاو
and-
في الابيزود الجايه.
Yeah.
مع
episode
guest.
9
Yeah.
مع ايمن البصريف.
Peace.
Peace out.
Take care.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye bye.
Out.